But Johnson reportedly had extended affairs with at least 2 women back home in Texas.
As old as I am and as long as it's been, my toes still turn up when I think of him.
Madeleine Brown was a 23-year-old radio advertising sales representative when she met Congressman Lyndon Johnson at a station party. A few weeks later, he invited her to another party at the Driscoll Hotel in Austin.
And while I was dancing with him there at the Driscoll, he put a key in my hand, and of course I was old enough to know what it was for.
Did you, Madeleine, have any encounters with LBJ either immediately before or immediately following the assassination of
Yes, the morning of the assassination, he was angry, but he was always angry when Ralph Yarborough and John Connally, there was a political feud going on.
Senator Yarborough
Dallas.
of Texas,
Yes.
Governor John Connally of Texas at the time.
He, and I had planned a meeting that night in Austin. We were going to the big fundraiser. And he said, well, after today, the blank-to-blank Kennedys would never embarrass him again. That was no threat. That was a promise. And I kind of laughed it off. I said, oh, after the rendezvous, everything's going to be great. Well, Jess Kellum had called me also, and he was telling me
Hatchet Man?
Yeah, the Hatchet Man. And I said, oh, Jess, he'll be okay. He's just mad. You know, everything's going to be all right.
Why was he so mad at JFK?
The Kennedys were always putting him down and calling him the country bumpkin, and he just didn't like it. They were a stumbling block in his way, politically.
When he said that to you, did you take it seriously?
Not at that second. I just thought he was mad.
Did you talk to him at all after the tragedy, after the
yes.
horrible crime?
I met him in Austin on New Year's Eve. And I was real concerned about it because everyone in Dallas was talking about he was responsible for the assassination. So I said to him, Lyndon, I said, you had already told me that after that day, the Kennedys wouldn't embarrass you again. And then Jack Ruby had come out openly and said that Lyndon Johnson was the cause of it.
The world will never know the true facts of what occurred, my motives. The people that had so much to gain and had such an ulterior motive for putting me in a position I'm in will never let the true facts come above board to the world.
Now, these people are in very high positions yet?
Yes.
Jack, what do you think about the hearing? I want to correct what I stated before. If he was vice president, remember I said he was vice president? Yes, I did when I mentioned about Adelaide Stevens. If he was vice president, there would never have been an assassination of our beloved President Kennedy. Would you explain that, Jack? Well, the answer is the man in office now. So
I said, I've got to be, in my mind, I've got to put things to rest. And he had a temper fit. He blew up and just screamed and hollered, and then he calmed down, and he turned around, and he said, at that time, it was the oil people I knew and the CIA.
Wait, are you saying that Lyndon Johnson, was he now President of the United States?
Yes.
Said to you personally?
Yes.
You swear this?
Swear.
That the oil people and the CIA were involved in the murder of John Kennedy?
Yes.
LBJ said that to you?
Yes.
Was it just the two of you alone?
Yes.
You sure it's not that the passage of years have made your memory foggy?
No.
You're not embellishing this tale, man?
No.
You sit here today and you claim that LBJ said the oil people and the CIA...
Scout's honor.
...killed the president.
Right.
Do you believe that your former paramour, Lyndon Johnson, had anything at all to do with the death of John Kennedy?
No, I did not have anything.
Do you believe that he had anything to do with it?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
You do?
Yes.
As you sit there today, you do?
Yes.
Did you know what he was talking about?
I knew the people that he named, yes, I certainly did. H.L. Hunt was a very dear friend of mine, and 3 days prior to the assassination, H.L. Hunt gave me one of the wanted for treason pamphlets, and they just bombarded Dallas with it. And
Wanted for treason, JFK.
Uh-huh.
They thought that the liberal president was a treasonous man.
Right.
Selling the country down the river.
So I said, H.L., you cannot do the President of the United States that way. And he said, well, hell, I can. I'm the richest man in the world. I can do whatever I want to. But Dallas, Texas was bombarded, and he passed them out personally.
Did you meet Jack Ruby, Madeleine?
Lyndon Johnson's attorney introduced me to him.
Go on.
I'm serious.
Where?
I was coming out of Neiman Marcus, and happened, of course, I knew the attorney, and he was standing talking to Jack Ruby, and he says, I want you to meet Jack Ruby. And so I still...
Wait a second. When was this?
Oh, 1952, I think. Way back.
10 years before the assassination?
Oh, yeah.
So Lyndon Johnson's attorney, which one?
Jerome Ragsdale.
The same guy who wrote you the letter
Yes.
after LBJ died and said that the financial arrangements would be continued. He was standing with Jack Ruby, you say?
Yes.
Did you ever tell any of the authorities this?
Yes.
Who'd you tell?
Well, I told, well, not the Warren Commission. They didn't talk to me.
They didn't ask you
No.
to testify?
No, I was told.
Go on.
I was told if they contacted me in any way...
They should watch some talk shows, these guys.
President Kennedy, after the Bay of Pigs, fired Allen Dulles as director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Dulles hated Kennedy. His whole career was ruined by Kennedy, and he got to be named one of the 7 Warren Commission members. He certainly had an axe to grind.
On the eve of Kennedy's assassination, she attended a party at this house in North Dallas, the family home of oil billionaire Clint Murchison Sr. There was an extraordinary guest list that night.
We had H.L. Hunt, Murchison, Lyndon Johnson made an appearance. We had Hoover. We had Richard Nixon. They were the most influential people there. When Lyndon came in, no one was expecting him. So when Lyndon arrived at Clint Murchison's, they all went into a conference room, and you could just feel the atmosphere.
A seamstress and companion, May Newman, provides confirmation that this party took place at the Murchison family home on the eve of the assassination. She lived and worked in another Murchison house in Dallas for Virginia, Clint Sr.'s second wife. She speaks here for the first time.
I started working for Virginia Murchison in 1962 until her death in 1997, approximately 36 years. I remember well the night before the assassination. I worked with a man called Jewel Pfeiffer, black man, which was Virginia Murchison's chauffeur. He got a call from her stepson, John, at the big house. They were having a big party for a very special guest that was coming from Washington to go to the party by the name of Bulldog, which I found out later was J. Edgar Hoover. And he said he was very excited about doing this, going on this trip out to the airport to take this special guest to a very special party, big party. And I asked him when he came back if he got a good tip, and he said no, and he was very, very upset. He had to go back that night to take J. Edgar Hoover to the airport to go back to Washington. And he still didn't get a tip.
Further verification of Hoover's presence in Dallas on the eve of the assassination came from a friend of May's who worked at the Murchison family home.
Beulah May Holman, she was the cook at John and Lupe's house, and she wanted me to go help her that night, which I didn't, but I knew she told me she was cooking quail, and I wanted the recipe, so she gave it to me. She said there was a very important guest by the name of J. Edgar Hoover that was coming in, and I should go out and help her so I could get to meet him. If it was a film star, I probably would have gone, but I didn't know who he was. No, not at that time.
Early the next morning, only a few hours before the assassination, Madeleine received a phone call from Johnson, who was back in Fort Worth with Kennedy.
Lyndon called me from the Texas hotel, and he was still irate. I said, Lyndon, about last night, and he went to cursing. He used foul language all the time. And he said, those Kennedys, he repeated, they will never embarrass me again. That's no threat, that's a promise. And I'd like the entire world to know how I personally feel is the fact Lyndon Johnson knew about the assassination and was a part of it.